Welcome to Renovation Secrets Podcast, episode number 4, where we hope to untangle some of the mysteries of the renovation industry. I am your host, Natalia Pierce, and today we are joined by a very special guest. With over 35 years of experience in the industry, she has achieved the honor of Certified Master Kitchen and Bath Designer. I'd like to welcome Anastasia. Tell me a little bit about how you got started in the industry.
Well, I started in the kitchen business in '86, and I worked for a company for 5 years. And unfortunately, they made some wrong financial decisions. They went belly up. They did owe me a lot of money, back commissions and salary. And so they opted to do the right thing and give me one of their showrooms, which was in Mississauga in the West End. It was just cabinets, it was just boxes and laminate countertops at the time. And so I went there and I worked hard, hard, hard. Make a long story short, we were about to be kicked out because they also lost the building, and I bought the building with money that I borrowed from my mother and my dad,
Okay.
and worked hard. I think just worked very hard. At the end of the day, I joined NKBA, which I learned a lot from, being able to see that you're not the only one that has those issues or problems. It's right across the industry.
When you started in the industry, did you have formal kitchen and bath training or?
No. I was trained in with the first company, how to measure and how to put the kitchen together. Well, like I said, in the '80s, it was boxes with laminate countertops.
Yeah.
If you got a microwave cabinet on an upper cabinet, it was a huge bonus.
Okay.
Once I joined NKBA, I learned a lot, not only to be able to compare issues and problems that business owners have, but also you learn. I went to a lot of. I took more seminars than I can count. Like seminars after seminar, and I went to KBIS and I got involved with NK executive. So I was on the executive for about 18 years, and then I joined I joined the national, so I was on the board of directors there for about 7 years.
Okay.
So I got that whole national spectrum of how things work. Hired people, and let go of people, because I think you have to have a passion for what you're doing. And a lot of
Absolutely.
people that work in the industry are more order takers. So this is what makes the difference between a designer and an order taker. The order taker tells you, what would you like in your kitchen? How do you want me to do this? And the designer is the one that asks the questions.
Yeah.
What are you looking for? Family, how you work in the kitchen, et cetera, et cetera. And these are things I guess I learned from NKBA. I became certified as a kitchen designer and as a bathroom designer, and now I have my CMKBD, certified master.
Yeah, no, the kitchen industry has definitely evolved significantly. I remember reading an article about when they first came out with solid surfaces, and they figured that the 7 or 8 colors that they started with were going to be all that was ever needed. And you think now how many options there are. It's actually quite overwhelming for many clients.
That's right.
So you mentioned your certification. And I know when I found NKBA, and I had come from a decorating background with a little bit of a structural element because I started off in architectural technology. But when I found NKBA, it was like the only resource out there that was specific to kitchen and bath design. So I know you said that you went and got certified, and it has made, I know it's made a huge difference for me personally.
Do you know where it makes the difference? It's not that, yes, it gives you credibility to the client, but it makes a difference having to study for those exams and learning through the process.
For sure.
Because you can't pass unless you have a 70.
Yeah.
And that's how I also got into the renovation part of the industry, because in a kitchen, it's not a matter of putting boxes on the walls. It's if it's all going to work, if you're moving plumbing and electrical and all that good stuff. So
it's that knowledge and understanding of plumbing and electrical and structural and all of those elements that people are really unaware of when it comes to what's required. So I find that's where the knowledge of a kitchen and bath designer specifically is so much different than just interior design. And no disrespect to interior designers, they're really great at what they do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, I'm not an interior designer. I don't consider myself an interior designer. I didn't go to school for interior design. But I consider myself a real good specialist for kitchen and bathrooms
Yeah,
because I've done so many. And so, let's be realistic. The person that has 30 years experience in the industry versus 5 years or 10 years in the industry, the 30 years is going to know more just because they've been through all the mistakes. I
for
mean,
sure.
there's always new things come up that, oh, I haven't experienced this in the last 35 years that I've been doing
Yeah.
this. Wow.
So what was your first biggest mistake, if you don't mind sharing, when you first started in your career?
Oh my goodness gracious. My first big, I think the biggest mistake that I find, not myself only, but people in general, is being upfront and communicating with the client.
Okay.
I think that's the biggest mistake anybody can make. It's it's setting down the expectations for both parties.
Yeah.
I think if the expectations are um, are discussed and everybody knows what everybody else is expecting. I expect to get paid at the end of the day, and you expect to have a good kitchen at the end of the day. And we are only as good as the people that work for us at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
And so I think open communication is really, really key. That's number one. And as far as, what did I do in kitchens? Well, what mistakes I've personally made, like on a job site? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, there's multiple aspects of that. I mean, there's client errors, there's, other kitchen errors, measuring errors, oversights, different
Yes.
things like that.
We've all done measuring errors where it's 365 and I read 356.
Yep.
And so I don't measure twice. I measure 3 times and sometimes four
Yep.
because of mistakes that have made in the past.
Fair enough.
I'd rather be 150% sure, not 100, rather than make a
Yep.
mistake. That mistake is so costly, not only financially, emotionally, financially, client relations, no repeat business after that. I mean, there's just so many mistakes that
Yeah.
can happen. Time that lapses because you didn't take this into consideration. Now you've got to wait another 3 or 4 weeks for something to be made. So, yeah.
Yeah. I find the level of mistakes in the kitchen and bath industry are not catastrophic, but they are significant. So the attention to detail to avoid those mistakes, and of course that, avoiding mistakes comes definitely with experience. I think the worst mistake, and I mean, it wasn't horrific. I had 3 kitchens that went in a row, and I didn't have appliance specs. And the cabinet above the
Ooh.
fridge wasn't big enough. And I discovered it on the first one. And before the other 2 were being installed, I had already made the correction. But that was, lesson number 1. Always, 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 always have the appliance specs
Oh
in
yeah.
advance.
Oh yeah.
So,
I don't put any projects through now unless I have everything chosen, including the handles.
yeah, for sure.
Because the other mistake, you asked me about mistakes, and I was thinking about the other mistakes is that promising clients things that are going to be difficult for you just to keep the client happy.
yeah,
I don't think you should do that. I think you need to do what, like, the client wants it in 4 weeks. Yep, I can get it to you in 4 weeks. Well, it's going to be a challenge for you to get it in 4 weeks.
yeah,
And you're going to stress yourself out and you're going to stress everybody that works for you. Why are you doing it? Because the client doesn't want to wait 5 weeks.
yeah.
It's
Under
so
promise and over deliver.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
The one I know you had mentioned about your team and trades, and I know I worked for a builder at the beginning of my career, and he made the comment to me that clients come and go, and your trades are with you for the long haul. And that really stuck with me because that relationship that you build with your trades is
Yes.
so critical because
Yes.
without them, we're nothing.
Yeah.
It's just an idea
We
on
are
piece of paper.
only as good as the people that work for us. And if you have a showroom and you have staff, as the salespeople that work for us. I mean, I had a salesman once. So I was doing complete turnkey projects, cabinets,
Yep.
countertops, renovations, and I could do product tiles, et cetera, et cetera. So he would sell the kitchen because I would give them 10% on the renovations
Okay.
and the kitchen. Or the kitchen was a fluctuation depending on the discounts they gave out. Okay, so I gave them that play. If you want to really sell the kitchen, you want a little more discounted, then everybody makes a little less money.
Yep.
Okay, so anyway, so he would give me the kitchen and countertops, and he would sell the renovation to some other renovator, not sell it, give it to him,
Yep.
and he gets 10% discount, and he doesn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
And that was fine.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah, definitely some challenges.
mm-hmm. The other thing that I found as a huge challenge in being a business owner is employees. Huge challenge.
Well, and I think it's become a national issue trying to find good qualified
Yes.
trades that are skilled and that can do the job. So it is definitely a challenge. But I find too that, having such a strong white collar society, the schools very rarely promote trade occupations for kids coming through school.
Yes.
Nobody wants it's all university or college oriented, and I find the trades have really struggled, and it's too bad. I mean, I grew up in a blue collar family,
Mm-hmm.
and my father was a mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
And my son has gone on to be a mechanic, and he's fourth generation. So it's an honorable trade, and everybody needs to, go follow their passion. And
Is this an auto mechanic?
yes.
My husband's an auto mechanic.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and like I said, my son is fourth generation because his father, his grandfather, and his great grandfather were all mechanics. So,
Wow.
and he's just a
Amazing.
natural. So
Amazing.
yeah, it is. So when it comes to client relationships, and I've started kind of focusing on some of those emotional things that nobody likes to talk about, which they certainly don't talk about on HGTV and stuff like that. That renovations are an extremely emotional time
Absolutely.
for homeowners, and not everybody can, first of all, handle the chaos and
Mm-hmm.
the destruction and the mess and whatnot. How do you prepare your clients for the process that's about to come?
Okay. First of all, I've renovated my house a couple of times, so I've been through the process. But having said that, and my first renovation was in the late 90s, so I renovated my whole main floor.
Yeah.
So, okay. But having said that, I give them the worst scenario. Your house is going to be under construction. It'll be a war zone down here. We do clean up afterwards, but understand that as much as we cover, dust will creep everywhere you never thought dust existed.
Yep.
So I do prepare them. I also prepare them how to set up a kitchen someplace else in the house so that they can function. Most people do not move out of their house. I would say maybe 1% move out.
Yeah.
The rest all stay in. So they need to prepare how they're going to live through 2 to 3 months of chaos in their home. I did a kitchen once. It was a new home, but they changed the kitchen, and the lady had just had a set of twins, and she just had given birth to another set of twins. So she had 2 sets of twins, 4 babies, all under the age of 14 months.
Wow.
So 14 months and newborns. And she set up the laundry room upstairs with the bottles and the feeding and all that stuff. And I always say to myself, if she can do it, everybody else, it's like, it's no big deal. So I do set them up. I do give them the worst scenario. I think you can't paint it roses because it's not roses.
Exactly.
But if you have made the decision to go through this process, you have to go through this in order to get to this. I mean, anything you do in life, whatever you decide to do, in order to buy a car, you have to go through the process of looking for one and test driving one or whatever. So there is a process in everything we do in life to get to what we want to accomplish. To get a job, you have to go through interviews
For
to
sure.
get to what you want, etc. So renovation, the same thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I know, I find giving clients the heads up that there is going to come a time, and for everybody it's different, but there's going to come a time during the renovation that you're going to feel that this was the worst thing you could have ever decided to do. And I said, it will pass, but generally there's a time where you kind of reach a breaking point. And,
The other thing that I've done in the past, not with every client, is that I would give them, let's say, $100 coupon to go to a restaurant one night and have dinner on me,
yeah,
as an example. So, occasionally I'll do something like that, or my referrals, depending on the referral they gave me and how much, I take a basket of whatever and give them some kind of a financial reward. I got a job that was $200,000. Well, I wanted to say thank you.
yeah, no, for sure. It's a level of appreciation.
Hmm.
Do you come, and a lot of this comes from the skill of your trades too, is being able to anticipate potential issues.
So I work with a contractor, and I had a contractor for 15 years. Then I was in limbo for a little while, and now I got this gentleman here that's working with me, and he's simply amazing. He makes me look so good at the end of the day. I get, yeah, and everybody loves him. If you talk to any client, they love him. He will go out of his way to get the job done. So you've got the difficult clients, he'll deal with them. You've got the easy clients, he'll deal with them. So, uh, he's amazing, and we work very closely together. But he's the one that comes up. He'll say to me, "Oh, by the way, blah blah blah. I'll go down. I'll iron things out. We'll make it happen where everybody's happy at the end of the day."
Yeah. Well, and I find too that it's the unexpected things that can often be the tipping scale. And
But I warn my clients.
yes, exactly. And that's
And even on my contract at the bottom, it says, should, I mean, I don't have x-ray vision. I can bring the contractor in, he takes a look and see where the plumbing may run, because we get rid of a lot of walls these days
yeah,
where electrical may be run. And so he anticipates certain things. At the end of the day, I have come across where there was a structure there that wasn't supposed to be there.
okay,
How do we deal with this now? Well, if we have to do a steel beam versus an engineered beam, or whatever the case may be, maybe it's an additional $3,000 as an example. I'll just throw
yep,
something out. We discussed that with the client. These are our options. We didn't know that was there. And I did run into this problem once. We didn't know this was there. Nothing indicated in the basement or on the second floor or anything that there was something there. We even cut out walls, drywall, to make sure that there's nothing there. Okay. This particular post, for some ABC reasons, we don't know why the builder decided to put it there to get rid of a wall. Anyways, it was fixed, it was done, it was rectified. Everybody was happy at the end of the day. But I meet with the client and the contractor. Contractor always discuss this prior to meeting with the client,
for sure.
so
Well,
we're both on the same page.
anytime you're doing structural, there's always going to be
Yeah,
potential unforeseen stuff that comes up for sure.
we try to avoid as much as we can
Absolutely.
to, and that's why we do the pre-inspection. But if it happens, it happens. That doesn't happen very often, but sometimes it does. I
Yeah,
can't say it
for
doesn't
sure.
happen. Maybe 5 to 10%.
Okay. So the two biggest shifts that I'm seeing in needs of clients right now are making homes more accessible or lifespan, improving wellness, and of course, in our current situation with COVID, what are a few of the things that you've been seeing or that you automatically do in your projects to help with that?
For the staying in the home
Yeah.
longer, yes, and I find that a lot in people. I just finished a house renovating, and the couple is in their 70s,
Okay.
and they plan to stay there for another, as long as they can. Let's put it this way.
Yeah.
And it's a big home. It was like 4,500 square foot home for two people, but that's the lifestyle that they've been accustomed to. Anyway, what we do is uh, I always see what kind of issues the clients have, if any.
Hmm.
The handles is a no brainer. We've been using handles versus knobs forever,
Yeah.
so always handles. Always rollouts. Everything's on a rollout. Nothing's on a shelf anymore. Everything's reachable. So I take into consideration the client's height and
Hmm.
mobility, and plan accordingly. Although some people want their cabinets to the ceiling, the people that are more into the contemporary stages quite often don't have uppers at all, or may have some open shelves.
Okay.
So a lot of it is from like 18 inches up to whatever 54 inches as far as the reachability is concerned. I don't do wheelchair accessibility unless somebody's actually in a wheelchair, because it doesn't, most of the time, the house doesn't allow us to do that. And a lot of people don't want it if they're not in a wheelchair anyway.
For sure.
They're not anticipating that they're going to be in a wheelchair 15 years from now. If that's the case, then they make allowance, they move, or they do whatever else they do. So these are the main things that I do. The faucets and the single lever and all that. That's a no-brainer. That's been happening forever.
Well, the marketplace has really opened up those opportunities and those options too. They're almost, standard options now where
Yes,
single lever.
but I've been putting bases on rollouts for forever. Like I say, listen, I'd rather you if you have a budget, spend less money on the finish of the product, but get your toys behind your doors.
Yeah, get the functionality.
You know what I mean?
First.
Get the functionality. So the way I design, and a lot of people don't design this way, but this is the only way I can design, is I do a functional kitchen first.
Yeah.
Once I have a functional kitchen, then I'll turn around and make it pretty, put the colors and the finishes and whatever else needs to be done. But if the kitchen doesn't function, there's no need to have a kitchen.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I agree. Is there one particular signature piece that is Anastasia?
Oh my. In a design?
Yeah, if there's a particular cabinet or an element or something that is just a go-to in every one of your kitchen designs.
Oh, wow. Besides undermount sinks, I like, okay. Yes, there is one. I always put a door on a dishwasher.
Okay.
I don't like that choppy effect. I don't care about the fridge as much. It looks nice, but I'm not, it has to be like a built-in fridge. But a dishwasher, always. Very few and far between clients will put in a kitchen that's done by me with a stainless steel dishwasher.
Okay.
Doesn't happen. So that is a key thing, because I like that continuity and that seamless look. I really like that. And that's why, if somebody wants to put in a regular stove, I'll say, don't. Put in at least, if you can't afford built-in products, at least put in a slide in, because it looks more built in than just a regular stove that has, spaces in between because there's no other way, etc. But a dishwasher with a door, that's definitely 100% my forte.
Okay. Yeah, I know I've developed a design for a trash cabinet.
Oh, recycling bins is always.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So I put together a trash cabinet that can fit in as small as 18 inches up to 24, but it can hold recycling bins. It has a pull-out above the trash containers that can hold compost. It can hold bags, stuff like that. So that's one of those go-to pieces that I've got my manufacturers. They've got it all figured out. This is the guarantee, this is just, it's going to work. This is what we need. And this is the space that it gets. So
absolutely.
Yeah. And often, we've made alterations to accommodate electrical, because if it's in an island, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, there's just a couple of, just that signature piece that I know is going to give my clients the most value.
The other thing I always try to do, depending on the circumstances, is 9 times out of 10, I always have a sink in the island.
Yes. Yeah, no, absolutely.
It doubles, from what I've learned in my industry, it doubles the workspace without adding any more countertops, because it just allows you that extra. Everything you do in a kitchen, I tell my clients this, everything you do in a kitchen is around water. Doesn't matter what it is. You could be toasting bread. You're going to take the breadcrumbs and throw them in the sink. So everything you do is around water, and you do it so unconsciously, you don't even realize you're doing it. And I share these stories with all my clients. So there's very few people that have done an island, maybe 2 or 3 maximum in my time, that have done an island without a sink.
Oh, makes sense. I never really looked at it that way, but yeah, that it does. Everything evolves around water.
Everything's around water. I mean, I don't have room in my own kitchen to do two sinks, but what I will do, I mean, separate sinks, I will do either one large sink or two sinks beside each other, but two faucets.
Okay.
So my husband and I can both work at the kitchen at the same time.
Without tripping on each other.
Well, because you want water, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So you talked about your team, and what are some of the most important attributes that you find when you look for in trades?
That they do the job as though it was their own, in their own home. I think the main one that I find is taking pride in their work.
Yeah,
They
that's
don't take pride in their work, you know. Um, no, yeah, and communication. Big communication is key
for
with
sure.
everyone, but taking pride in what they do, yes, absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hmm.
So for anybody that's listening, can you tell them where they can find you?
Oh, well, I have a website that really haven't put any work into it. It's been slopped together. So please don't judge me on my website. I always thought that you can look at my website, but don't judge me on,
It's
because
not a reflection of our skills.
no, I had a business for 25 years. I've been in the industry for 35 now, but I had a business for 25 years, and I had a website and all that. I sold my website and my business name to someone because I didn't want to work 24/7 at the business. I
Yeah,
wanted to have my freedom and pick and choose. And just like the client, I think a client and a designer need to um, really melt nicely together. You know,
absolutely.
if they don't, then and I tell my clients, if you don't feel comfortable with me, please don't hire me, and vice versa. Because sometimes, how you have this gut feeling, even us as designers, and I've run into this. I don't have a good feeling about this client, but it's a $200,000 project, and right now I need the business, so
Hmm.
I'm going to take it. And it works out to be a sour. Um, the relationship goes sour. So it's happened twice twice in the last 10 years.
Okay.
So now that I don't have that massive overhead of a showroom, I still have a certain amount of overhead, obviously, but uh, I still charge my worth, whatever I'm worth. So just because you don't have the massive overhead doesn't mean you're worth less. Um, I've forgotten your question now.
um, I think we were just talking about attributes of trades and whatnot, but I too totally agree with you in regards to the connection with a client. I mean, these renovations, kitchens, baths, they're so personal. And
Yes,
you get
yes.
into how people live, how they cook, how they entertain, bathing habits.
But
Sometimes
you
you
know
get,
what? The client's going to buy you before they buy anything you have to serve them.
yeah, exactly. And I
They buy
find,
you first. So if you come out, and I try to come out very honest and forthright, because I don't like problems and issues on my job sites. I like everything to go smoothly. And so being upfront, listening to the client, giving them what they want, writing it down on paper so nobody forgets.
yes,
That's really important. Being forthright and honest. And quite often, if the client wants something and something's gone sour, I will pay for it out of my pocket to get it done correctly, because I think that's important for my client. And if I make $100 less or $1,000 less or whatever the case may be, it's not relevant.
yeah, for
To
sure.
me, my client and his experience is more important to me than anything else.
Yeah,
Money is not as important as my client's experience.
absolutely. No, I totally agree. And I've always kind of aligned myself in a way that I'm not going to sell something to my client because it brings a bigger commission or a better
Exactly.
bottom line. It's always client first.
Yes.
And I don't want to have to push somebody into making a choice or a decision because it's a massive decision. Renovations are huge investment, and it has to be about them and their needs, not about the bottom line.
But you know what? I find that I can do that better now I'm not saying I didn't do it before, because I did do it before, big time. But I can do it better now because I don't have to take that order
Exactly.
unless we melt together. I don't have to say, well, it's a big order and I should take it. No, I don't need to. You know what I mean?
Which is a great,
Um,
great place to be.
it's an amazing place to be. I travel when I can. I'm home when I can. I love to work. I don't think I'll ever stop working.
I agree. No, I
I
found
love, I love, it's a passion of mine. So when you love what you do, there's a book that's written, I don't know if you remember the author, but love what you do and money will follow.
fair enough.
So I love what I
Absolutely.
do. And if money follows, great. If it doesn't, that's fine too.
No, I had just thought of a question and I forgot it now. But it was about that, and that connection and that passion, and doing this because we want to do it, not because we have to. And I think that makes such a difference in the authenticity
Yes.
of that relationship. And that's awesome.
You're going to be with this person for 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, a year sometimes. From the time you start the process to the time you finish, it's at least a year.
What's the longest time you've spent in a planning process with a client?
I had one client, they had issues with getting permits, but she put in a deposit. I didn't start the kitchen till 3.5 years later,
Okay. I
but
think
they had issues with
my
permits and
biggest was
stuff.
2 years. So, and
Yeah.
it was a custom home, and I was doing all of the cabinetry, and but it was a 2 year process.
And you know what? Somebody asked me, what's your attributes? Like, what are you good at? And I said, patience, patience, patience.
Very good.
I would come home and I would, sometimes have it out with my husband. He says to me, I don't understand. You're so patient with your clients. I says, yeah, but then I'm drained
Yeah.
and I have to let go when I come home.
Yeah, for sure. And I find that the transparency and integrity is has been affected by a lot of the I don't even know what to call them. The hobbyist
The
renovator,
people
or
that don't do a good job.
exactly, and those that don't have that,
Yeah.
that connection, and that, and as somebody in the industry that has to constantly battle that reputation of the industry, which is
Hmm.
unfortunate. And I know there's some awesome contractors out there that are speaking out and, being transparent and talking about important things like yourself. It, the more of us that speak out, the more of us that can change that perception of the
Hmm.
industry. And I think that's really, really important. So, can you give us your website?
www Anastasia ID for interior design. So it's ANASTASIAID.ca.
That's awesome. So if anybody's in the Toronto area, they know where to find you,
And you know what? And all of my jobs since I've sold my business 5 years ago have all been referrals.
which is awesome.
Yeah,
That speaks volumes too.
yeah.
I in one of my books I talk about if you're looking for a contractor and if they don't have a client that is willing to speak on their behalf, that it's often a red flag. That because referrals speak volume,
Yes,
and again, it
yes,
relates to that whole client experience. So,
absolutely,
which is
absolutely.
awesome. For the people that listen and they can get some takeaways on, just what somebody who has passion in the industry, again, it's that communication, that transparency, that connection, and how important it is. And it will help somebody that when they're looking for somebody in the industry for a renovation, that they can, look for those things too. So,
I go with a lot of people will go with referral, but I've noticed recently, not recently, for some time now, because I do turnkey projects. So most clients, especially people that are, going to spend $100,000 on a kitchen or more, um, they don't want to start hiring the plumber, hiring the electrical, hiring the contractor, hiring the designer. So my forte in my own personal business and what I've done after I sold my business and I work on, so I used to work under an Andros Kitchen Bath Design. So that was my company, which I've sold. And now it's Anastasia Interior Design, which allows me to do more than kitchens and bathrooms, just the name. But I find that, oh, the renovation, I was going to say about the renovations, because I have a turnkey effect. Okay, most people don't want to do the kitchens and the
Yep.
countertops with one company and then hire their own contractor to do it with whatever else, the rest of it, because then the two have to talk. And then they kind of in between. And the
Yeah.
contractor
Yeah,
says,
for
well,
sure.
I didn't know the kitchen company was going to do this. And the kitchen company says, well, I didn't know the contractor was going to do this. So my forte has been throughout my years is that I can do the whole thing. I can do from consultation to design to concept to plans, elevations, and all the renovations all wrapped under one umbrella.
For sure. Well, and I find too you're when you have a regular team, they understand your style, they
Yep.
understand your expectations, plus there's a control
Yes.
factor. I've done kitchens where the homeowners were sourcing their own countertops and things start to derail because the expectation of timing and delivery and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera starts to leave your control and things start
Yep.
to go wrong. So I always try and control as many aspects as possible in order to ensure
You know,
just a
it's
smooth
funny you
flowing
should say that
project.
because Um, I'm working with a company right now where they actually will put a plywood underneath the cabinets, and if your profile is like 3 inches thick, they'll build that up and have it ready for the countertop people.
Okay.
There's most companies don't do that, and then there's companies that do countertops that say, well, your cabinet guy didn't do the prep work, or some of them do the prep work. So you need to have that communication, and this is where the designer that does has control over this can assist the homeowners.
For sure. Oh, yeah. And that's that experience too. I also find too, with cabinet manufacturers, each of them have their own little unique nuances of how
Do
they
things.
put
Yes,
cabinets together, or they'll have fixed shelves, different things like that. And I find it takes a good 2 years to learn a manufacturer and all their little
yes,
quibs and quirks that as a designer you need to be aware of so that when implementing it, you don't run into surprises on the
that's
site.
right. I thoroughly agree.
Great. Yeah, it's. I had a big change in manufacturer. I'd had a cabinet manufacturer I'd had for 8 years, and all of a sudden they just stopped delivering to my region, and it was a huge shock because trying to find somebody else that you have that level of communication with, and it's a
Hmm.
challenge. And like I said, I always have said it takes a good 2 years to learn a cabinet line inside and out, which is what you need.
It's funny. I had that same experience. I was working with a company out of Quebec, and we stopped working together for various reasons. And I went to somebody local here, and initially he was really good, and then his communication skills were like lacked big time. Like it was like 5% out of 100, like nothing. Couldn't get him to answer my calls back. Couldn't get him to text me. Couldn't get him to do anything. For me to speak to him, I literally got into my car and went to his office. There was no other
Wow.
way for me to communicate with him. He has one more job. He's finishing a couple of jobs on me, and I says, "That's it. Wash my hands. I've already found someone else." So
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes,
no,
and usually when I find somebody, I do something for myself to see what they're like. So he did something for me, and it was great. And
yeah.
then with the clients, he that communication lacked. So I can't work with that person.
Yeah, and then it just
Hmm.
snowballs, has the snowball effect on a
Yes.
project for sure. That's awesome. Do you go to KBIS every year?
I used to. I haven't. Last time I went to KBIS, oh God, it's probably 3 or 4 years ago, at least.
Okay.
Maybe 4 years ago. I haven't gone because why haven't I gone? I've been going. I've been traveling. So I go south or I go to Japan. I've been to Japan one winter when it was there. I went to, I'll go on a cruise with friends or whatever. So quite often it just didn't work out, the timing, but I'm due to go again. But now COVID hit.
Yes, it's definitely going to be a challenge for next year, especially being in kind of a hot zone in Florida.
It's funny because I was going to go to Euro Cucina this year. So I was planning on it. I was looking at it's and then Milan, voila. And I says, thank God we didn't go. And I hadn't booked anything. And I would have booked. And then a young lady I was going to go with her partner, they decided they were really too busy to go, which kind of put a damper. Says I didn't want to go on my own. I wanted to go with a bunch of girls.
Hmm.
So thank God they decided not to go, and I didn't go. Otherwise, I would have been out a lot of money.
Well, and it got postponed originally till June, and then I haven't heard if it's been rescheduled for 2021 or if they're pushing it.
I don't think anything's. I think everyone's going to wait till the end of the year to see what's going on, and I don't know if the KBIS will happen next.
It's planning.
Is it
They're
really?
in. Yep, they've confirmed that it is going ahead. It will be right
Wow.
now it'll be a blend of in-person and virtual. So anybody that doesn't want to attend live, they will have a virtual platform as
But
well.
exhibitors are going to be on.
As far as I know, because I know I'm presenting or supposed to be presenting in Voices of the Industry, and they've asked if we're willing to be recorded. And then, of course, they ask if we are attending live. And I can't answer that right now because the borders are closed. So we'll see what happens for that. But
What are you presenting?
it's a program on lighting and color for living in place.
Very nice. Very
Yeah,
nice.
became a bit of a lighting geek after I had done a huge project for a client. We were renovating main floor of their home, and I hadn't got into really lighting or understanding of lighting. And they had their own electrician, and they picked fixtures, and it just turned a spectacular kitchen design into something very flat because the lighting was not adequate. And I was like, okay, I need to figure this out. So I started to study lighting and have got quite involved in it. And of course, it's the evolution of lighting in the last 5 years is spectacular. So I really, really enjoy it. And then after CEDIA last year, it was an enormous eye opener for the evolution of lighting and the technical capabilities of it.
Yes. As much as I love lighting, I just find it so dry. It's just not. I love lighting, but I find it dry. It's one aspect of my industry that, yes, I'm going to light you. Yes, I'm going to do this, that, and the other, but I just find it dry. And I've taken so many courses, and it's just not me.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I can do
Well, and
a thousand other things but lighting.
it's so technical,
Yes.
and there is like you really just fall down a rabbit hole. And of course, I've been doing so much research lately in regards to wellness
Hmm.
and the aspects of wellness, and of course, lighting is a huge part of that. But you just get lost in a sea of technical information, and it's really rather astounding. But you need to find yourself a good lighting designer
Yes.
that
Well,
you can
yes.
work with.
Do you have your caps?
I have clip. I
Clip.
I
Okay.
did the clip training instead of caps, and
Okay.
have
I'm
quite
I'm I'm kind of embarking to see if I can do that. It's being offered online, obviously.
yeah. They
Um,
do virtual,
mhm.
and they've changed the virtual. I did my training virtually a couple years ago, and the platform that they're using, they've reduced it because it used to be over 6 days, and I think now it's only 4.
Okay.
But it's actually very intuitive. It's very interactive, which is nice,
Mhm.
and they have actually created a manual for the Canadian market because there are some significant differences between um,
Yes.
accessibility laws and descriptions for
Yes.
Canada versus the US. So
Yes.
they've evolved the program from that sense.
Was
But
it from a U.S. company? You
Living in Place is US based. Um, but like I said, they've done a lot of research and created the
okay?
Canadian manual, which is great.
Clip.
But I
What's
found
the difference between clip and caps?
well, I'm having not taken caps, I'm not 100% sure. Um, I have colleagues that have done both. I find the clip is more not totally age related. They talk about um, pretty much anything that can require an accessibility adjustment throughout life stages. It's not just for people
You
65
know
and up.
what? Yeah, they're doing something like that. They were going to do something like that in the spring or in the summer or spring or summer of this year in Toronto. And obviously because of COVID, it was postponed. I don't know until
The
when.
Livable Environment Conference.
Yes,
I'm
yes, and
very
I
good
was
friends
I
with
was going to
Linda
be in
Gaff.
charge of that, and as far as the DDA is concerned.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the so Linda Kafka's got the
Yes.
Livable Environment Conference. It is been rescheduled for October. It will be entirely virtual. It's going to be a phenom like the speakers and the keynotes that she's got lined up are really really exciting, and I think um, it's really time that the built environment
Hmm.
starts to address the accessibility
Absolutely.
and lifespan functions that people need. If homes were built with more of a lifespan thought process in them, they wouldn't need to they
They
wouldn't
wouldn't
need to
have back.
renovate as much.
They wouldn't have semi-detached or back-detached houses.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And then don't even get me started on the whole seniors residence
Oh my God,
debacle.
yes.
I know when we chatted before, I was absolutely stunned at the specifications in a seniors residence. So there needs to be some awareness from developers and builders. And I'm hoping, a lot of them will be attending the conference because I know it's open to architects and builders. And I really think they need the awareness more than anything, just
Okay.
to, you, they've got these high end seniors residents that are being built that are in affluent neighborhoods, and they're mediocre. Their designs are mediocre at best
At
and
best, yes, yes, yes.
disappointing. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, if you're ever interested in the clip,
Um,
um,
yeah, I would. I think Clip may be even better than Caps personally. I know
well,
right now Caps is charging $800 US. Not that that's going to make me or break me, and as far as which direction go, but I think uh, being able to design with any type of disability or challenge in the home for any age is more in tune with our lifestyles today versus so just the aging group.
oh, for sure. Well, and for somebody with your experience too, a lot of it becomes intuitive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, and I know, I mean, it's hard to talk about some of the accessibility aspects without getting into um, somebody that's got physical challenges or age-related challenges, whether it
Yeah.
be vision or cognitive or those sort of things. But I've been really trying to um, relate some of those things to people with younger same challenges, but in a younger age spectrum. Um, one of them being, the horizontal line that they put in showers, which helps with vertigo and other visual aspects. But I have a young girl that works in a showroom, and she has severe astigmatism. So when
Mm,
she takes her glasses or contacts off, which is typically the condition that you're in standing in your bathtub or shower,
mhm.
having that horizontal line in her shower or having some of the new shower doors with the grid patterns,
Yes,
it gives her a sense of her space
yes.
visually without the glasses or some kind of assisted device. And she's in her mid 20s.
Wow. Yes.
So things like that that would make a difference for any age group,
Hmm.
and it's not totally age related. So
Exactly. Exactly. I know we have a huge, massive population. They're all aging right now, and they'll be aging for the next, 20 years at least. The baby boomers, and I think they're gearing it towards that. But like you said, any age group that has any kind of challenge should be addressed.
yeah. Well, and I've had clients too that were in their 40s or 50s and have unfortunately had
Yes.
car accidents
Yes.
and suffered a brain
Yes.
injury or things like that. And again, not age related, but circumstance related. And nobody knows what life's going to throw at them. And having just some simple accommodations like level entry showers or a bench in a shower, handheld units for showering, it makes any of those circumstances, you could trip and fall and break your ankle. And being able to get into the shower or have, a place to sit would make that time frame of your physical challenge much simpler.
Yeah.
So just some intuitive things that kind of accommodate whatever life's going to throw at you.
Yes. I
So
agree.
anyways, it has been such a great pleasure having this chat, and I do look forward to connecting next time we get to go to an event.
No
And
problem. Do you plan to come to Toronto anytime soon?
I think my daughter's coming. She's got to do an interview for a school that she wants to go to. So I told her, I said we'd drive down together. So it
Okay.
would.
Is that happening in September?
I think it's coming this fall. I think they're doing interviews this fall, so we'll be taking a trip
Well,
down
connect with me. Maybe we can get together.
for sure.
I'd love that. It was lovely talking to you, and I thoroughly enjoyed this.
Absolutely. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
Well, a huge thank you to Anastasia for joining us. Her website, again, if you missed it and are in the Toronto area, is www.anastasiaid.ca. And my website, if you're in the Ottawa area, is detailbydesign.ca. And as always, send me an email to get a free copy of our Inside Renovations ebook. And for more info on clip training, you can check out the livinginplace.institute. Or for tickets for the Livable Environment Conference, you can go to livablecanada.com. The conference is open to anyone. Thanks again for listening, and be sure to like this episode and share with all your friends. And until next time, happy renovating.